Alexander James Sina.
I think a lot of guys growing up have a parallel experience. Stefan Molyneux captured it pretty well in his book Essential Philosophy. Children are told they have free will and that they are responsible for their choices, but they are generally compelled to go to school and obey. When children blurt out an uncomfortable truth, they are told that keeping quiet is moral. When an adult wants information from kids, speaking up becomes moral. Children are told not to use force to get their way, but they are typically spanked at home and punished in school. The gym, both weightlifting and dojos for martial arts, give guys a way to push back against the world. We'll use my story for an example. So I was friends with nerds and outcasts, so in some ways I fit the nerd stereotypes. I was into RuneScape way past the middle school popularity window. I played sports and I was a decent athlete, and I actually loved playing games in gym class. But even though I was on these various teams, I never really felt like I was actually part of the group. I got bullied in school. Some of it happened in high school, but the worst was in junior high. One day at lunch, I was walking back to a table to sit with my friends, and this girl called me a bitch. And then I said something back, and the whole table got up and surrounded me. And I freaked out and I started to cry. In front of my friends, in front of the whole cafeteria. The girl even came back and gave me a stack of napkins. I'm a little sad I don't remember the trigger for this next part, but I know around 10th grade I resolved that I wanted to get a six-pack. So I found Mike Geary's The Truth About Abs book, and I read it, but for some reason I just didn't really want to go to the gym. Fortunately, it came with this card game workout where you take a deck of cards and each card has an assigned exercise. So red numbers are squats, black numbers are push-ups, and then the face cards you can assign bodyweight stuff. The default is jacks are jumping jacks, queens are lunges, kings are lying leg raises, and aces are burpees. And I remember the first time I did it, I tried to make it through the whole deck. So I got to about 12 cards left and I just couldn't do anymore. I was sweaty and exhausted, but I felt elated. I ran upstairs and my brother saw me and asked, "Why are you sweaty?" I was never fat and I didn't really follow a specific diet besides just trying to cut out junk food. So I stopped drinking pop and eating chips, but I would still have dessert because I love chocolate. Anyway, I did the card workout pretty much daily. That plus sports. I played soccer in the fall, intramural basketball in the winter, and tennis in the spring. I don't remember how long it was a few months, but I remember getting really excited when I started to see the outline of my abs. There wasn't a specific day I was like, holy shit, I have a six-pack, but over time it just happened. So that's the weightlifting part, and here's how I got into MMA. I grew up loving the Three Ninjas movies and Jackie Chan and basically all action movies. And I did karate for a little bit growing up, but I didn't like practicing the forms or katas. So one day in high school, this older kid tried to rope me into helping him wipe down lunch tables. He was older and he was on the soccer team and he was a black belt, but we weren't like actually friends, so I said no. And then he put me in this arm locks and I kind of tried to twist out, but in hindsight he probably just let me go. But then whenever he would see me in the hallway, he would shove me and go, "Watch yourself." And I didn't want to deal with that, so I did what countless other teens did and Googled how to fight. So side note, two awesome channels I would recommend are Fight Smart, aka How to Fight Now, and Fight Tips. Anyway, the next day, when he shoved me, I shoved him back and said, "Watch yourself." Then he pinned me with his hand on my shoulder against a locker. I don't remember the first thing he said because I was scared, but I was still like ready to fight. And then he said something like, "I am your soccer captain next year, and I will make you run." But he left me alone after that. So even though I didn't end up fighting that day, what I had read the night before kind of stuck with me. The other part is, I had seen the Transporter movie starring Jason Statham. So I went to Wikipedia to find more of his movies, and then the first sentence stuck out to me. Jason Statham is a martial artist and actor. And I thought, yeah, being a martial artist is so cool. And then it clicked for me that if I wanted to be able to call myself that, all I'd have to do is actually train. So I looked for martial arts schools in the area, and the Warriors Cove stood out to me. They had MMA, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, judo. It looked awesome, and the name was awesome, and they even had these cool black and red gis instead of being boring old white. So that summer was MMA, filmmaking, and working out, and it was awesome, and I developed a six-pack. But I also developed something else. Something I hadn't really felt before. When I was growing up, I felt like I was different from everybody else. Yeah, all you millennials think you're special snowflakes. When I was diagnosed with autism, I got a reason for why I had that feeling. When I said I didn't feel like I belonged with any sport group, at the Warriors Cove, I felt accepted. They were excited for me, Alex, to be there. I got so into jiu-jitsu that I didn't even want to go back and finish my senior year of high school. Even with my new hobby and my sexy abs, it didn't change anything. I was an improved version of me, but I was still me. But wait, Alex, if getting a six-pack didn't help you fit in, then what's the point? The point is that training, both weightlifting and martial arts, became its own thing to me. In the movies, after the training montage, the hero and the bully will have some kind of showdown for resolution. But nothing like that ever really happened for me, for the kids that either bullied or ignored me. So after college, I was working as a photographer for Lifetouch, doing the school pictures days we all loved. One day there was a photographer that was having issues with a girl, so he kicked her out. And then when she came to me, she kept wanting to put the backwards peace sign in front of her face, and then I told her to put it down, and she kept going. And then I snapped a picture when she had put it down between the intervals, and then she was mad about that. And then her friend was next, so she came over, and they're both kind of whining and yelling at me. So then I kicked them out, and so I moved them, and they went back as I kind of walked. And then when I went back to my camera, they'd come right back. And then I pushed them further back out, and then they came back again. And then their third friend came, and she was walking all over the cables, and then their boyfriends came over, so I have all these people yelling at me, and I just remember thinking, these guys have no idea what I do at night. Referring to the MMA stuff, not any other activities. So then I was kind of watching around, making sure nobody's going to sneak up on me, and then eventually a teacher came by and told them to get out of there. I didn't have any issues with kids disobeying me for the rest of the day, but thinking back to that day in junior high, being threatened, how scared I felt, and crying, today was different. I wasn't powerless anymore. I faced the same situation as a different person. And I realized I had come full circle and could let those demons die. I'm glad in one sense that I wasn't always a badass. I have embarrassing and painful stuff in my past, but I feel like I'm just a different person now. So what does that mean for you? Notice how there wasn't any really defining moment where I knew I'd made it, but I just kept training for years. There were injuries, setbacks, distractions. There's nothing magical about it. What'll happen is someday something will happen and you'll be reminded of how you used to be. And then you'll realize you've transformed.